Hello everyone, welcome to the CloudLearn AWS Zero to Hero series. This is the day 29 video. In this video, we are going to talk about a Bastion host. Before getting into the Bastion host, let us review the previous video, which is a VPC. So in the last session, in the last video, we have talked about a VPC and we created a VPC with one public subnet and one private subnet. And then we observed the public subnet machines can be accessible from anywhere across the globe with the help of a public IP address, whereas the private subnet instances cannot get a public IP and they can't be accessible from outside of the network. For this, we have a concept called a Bastion host. What is a Bastion host? Bastion host is a special machine, but we are not supposed to say a special machine. There's a regular EC2 instance, but the purpose is a special. The purpose is a special, which will allow the users to access your private subnet instances. If you ask me the exact definition, a Bastion host is a special purpose server used to provide a secure access to the private network from your office or from the internet or from anywhere across the globe. Let us try to understand in a proper way. So, Bastion host is going to be a regular EC2 instance, and that is going to be in the public subnet. Whenever the machine is in the public subnet, it will get public IP and also the private IP, right? So that the user can access the Bastion host, but not the private subnet. How it works here, the user first, he will log in to the Bastion host. In the Bastion host, he will open the remote desktop connection or a putty tool, depends on the operating system in the private subnet. If the private subnet machine is a Windows machine, then he will open the remote desktop connection here, and from here he will establish the connection using the private IP. And the public subnet and private subnet both are the part of the same VPC network. And already we learned these two subnets are able to communicate with each other by default with the help of this particular default route in your route tables. That is what exactly the Bastion host. Bastion host is a special machine or a special server used to provide secure access to a private network from an external network. Why? The reason is generally in the private subnet, we will maintain the machines which has to be in the private. Like example, database. Gmail database, Facebook database, or Instagram database, which contains some huge information which is going to be the confidential, right? Secure. I don't want to expose that database to the internet. Means nobody can access directly with your database. But as an administrator, we must access or we must log in to do the configurations and everything. So we use this as a gateway. It acts as a gateway. I can say the Bastion host acts as a gateway between the VPC private network and the external network. Right. Now let us write down few points about this and we will see how to create the Bastion host. And with the help of the Bastion host, how can we log in to the private subnet? So whatever I already mentioned, the same thing. A Bastion host is a special purpose server or a machine used to provide secure access to a private network from an external network, which means internet from your house, from your office, or something. The immediate question will be Bastion host. Is it a Windows server or a Linux server? It can be anything. It can be anything. Whatever you want to install, that operating system you can use. Regular EC2 instance only. And it Bastion host is also known as jump server. It also called as jump server. Few people call it as a management server. That doesn't matter. If someone mentioned a word called jump server, that doesn't mean the Bastion host with respect to the AWS. So I can say Bastion host acts as a gateway, acts as a gateway between AWS private network and external network in internet between your office and AWS, between your home and AWS, and so on. Right. So now what we are going to do is create a Windows Bastion host. Obviously, that must be in the public subnet, and then access the private subnet instance with the help of Bastion host. Okay, so first let us create the Bastion host. Then we will use that Bastion host machine to access the private subnet instance. If you remember, these two machines were created in the previous session, day 28 video, but already we logged into the public server, which has a public IP and a private IP. And the private server, private subnet EC2 instance doesn't have a public IP. Let me note down the private instance details. Private instance details because we need to log in, right? Let me write down all the details. So it doesn't have a public IP. So let me write down the private IP. Username. What is the username of a Windows machine? By default, it is the administrator. And what is the password? What is the password? Or how to get a password? Select the EC2 instance, click on connect. So select the RDP client tab here, click on get password, upload the private key file, click on decrypt password, and here is the password. Okay, now we need to create the Bastion host. Okay, how to create the Bastion host? Bastion host is nothing but a normal EC2 instance, but only rule is that must be in the public subnet. So how to create an EC2 instance? Launch instances. Let me give a name called Bastion. So you can choose the latest Windows, that doesn't matter. Any operating system, but it requires somewhat high memory. But with the T3 micro, we were getting like one CPU, sorry, two CPU and 1 GB of memory. And then keeper network settings. So here, by default, whatever the instances we are about to create, they will be created in the default VPC. But I want to create in our customized VPC, which is my first VPC. Select that. I want to use in the public subnet. I would like to assign public IP address, security group. Already we have a security group, Windows RDP, which will allow the RDP traffic. Just scroll down and click on launch instance. Instance will be created within 4 to 5 minutes of time. I mean, the instance is ready to use. In the meanwhile, let me click on refresh button here. Yep, see here, Bastion host. What is the status? Initializing. Let me write down the details. While it is getting created, let me write down the details here. What is the public IP? Private IP. Then the username. Username, obviously the administrator. Password. How to get the password? Same procedure. Select the machine, click on connect, RTP client, get password. If you're getting this, don't worry. It will take up to 4 minutes of time to make your machine ready. Then only we can get the password. Just wait for like few seconds, like 1 or 2 minutes of time. The best time to check the password is whenever the status check shows 2 by 2 checks passed, then you are good to go with the password. Means the password will be ready by that time. Okay, just wait for like 1 or 2 minutes of time. It's the machine. Connect to the client. Get password. Yeah, ready. Upload private key file. Let me click on decrypt password, and here I got the password. Now, how to access? As we discussed earlier, first, first we must log into the Bastion host. First, we must log into the Bastion host. From the Bastion host, we should log into the private server, right? Okay, so first step, what is the first step? First step is log into the Bastion host. Then from the Bastion host, log into the private subnet instance, private server, right? First, we need to log into the Bastion host. Here are the details of the Bastion host. First, open the remote desktop connection. 54.145.169.162. Username, administrator, password. Before clicking on OK, let me say copy this. Copy the password, enter the password. Okay, right. Just I entered the password of the Bastion host. Just we are about to log in to the Bastion host. Now, in the Bastion host, we need to open the remote desktop connection. And from that remote desktop connection, we are about to log in to the private subnet instance. And public subnet instance, it is in the public subnet, right? So obviously you can browse the internet. But in the private subnet, even you will not get internet browsing. Forget about accessing from outside. Once you log into the private subnet instance, you cannot browse google.com, yahoo.com because it is not connected with internet. How to get the internet and the private subnet instances, that we can discuss in the next video. Okay, but for now, let's focus on this. Okay, this is the Bastion host. From this Bastion host, we need to log into the private subnet machine. Just wait, still it is trying to loading. I did not get the taskbar here. Yep, now it is ready. Click on start, and here remote, because it's a 1 GB machine, right? So it will be very, very slow. Okay, remote desktop connection. And what I have to do, I need to enter the private IP address of the EC2 instance, which is running in the private subnet. And let me open a notepad. So these are the details of the private subnet instance, which I copied. So what is the private IP? 192.168.2.75. Connect. This time you will get the login page. I mean the login window, username and the password. Now we are logging in to the private subnet instance. This is how we will log into any private subnet instance with the help of the Bastion host. Once we logged in, let us verify the internet browsing facility also. Are we able to access the internet or not? That we will verify, because the next topic is connected with this internet browsing facility. Okay, let me open a browser, Edge browser. Where is that? Here it is, Internet Explorer. Let me open the Internet Explorer. But here you can see that then, okay, just wait. Google.com. By default on the Windows machines, especially for the Internet Explorer, they will enable enhanced security configuration. Means for every website, whatever you visit, you will get a trust kind of a button. Would you like to allow the connection with so and so website and all? If you want to disable, you can disable that also. Here, just click here. No, right. Let me disable that. Or if you are okay, just you can check with the default options also. How to disable that? That is extra thing that is not related with this particular Bastion host topic. Here you can click, if you click on start, you can see a server manager button. If you go to server manager, just click on this local server on the left side. Here you can see something called IE enhanced security configuration, right? Which is on. That I am going to off. What is the advantage is whenever you try to access any website, it won't ask you for the confirmation. Or else for every website, it will prompt you, would you like to allow to access this particular website and all. Okay, anyways, let us check. Let me type google.com and we will get page not found error. I mean, the page cannot be loaded kind of error because this private subnet instances doesn't have access to communicate with the internet. But in the real time, these private subnet machines requires internet access, one-way internet access means from the machine, we should be able to communicate with the internet, like how we are getting the internet in your house to download the updates, to download some patches, to download some softwares and all right. How to enable that access by maintaining the machine in the private subnet, that we will discuss in the next video using the concept called network address translation, right? Okay, so I hope you guys got clarity about the Bastion host concept. If you have any questions, feel free to reach me on your questions and I will be happy to help you. Thank you everyone.